Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and this is episode number 358. We're talking about imperfect thriving with my friend Kathryn Ely. I'm really fired up about this one because I believe that so many of us out there struggle with perfectionist mindsets, and Kathryn is somebody that can deliver home runs on this topic. She helps so many people. I love the way that she coaches. I just really believe that you guys need to hear what she has to say. So we're not going to mess around a whole lot before this episode and do a bunch of announcements or anything. We're going to dive right into things. So Kathryn she's basically known for helping people discover who they are, what they want out of their one life, and the actions that they need to take to achieve a fulfilling life. And really that word fulfillment comes up quite a bit in this episode. Feeling fulfilled, feeling like your life has purpose and meaning and you feel motivated about being a part of it, and letting go of that perfectionist mindset. So we kick it off and we talk about the story about why she quit her job as a lawyer and went back to school to be a counselor. We talk about how she had to overcome her own perfectionism and that perfectionist mindset as she made this huge life change. We discuss the difference between someone that is a perfectionist and someone that is goal-driven. We discuss the 8 domains and how each of them impact our life fulfillment. And then we get her best advice for someone that is ready to let go of their perfectionism right now. You're going to love this episode. It is really good. She's got a great free course that we talk about. That's in the show notes as well. I want you to do that. This is just really good. So without any further delay, let's dive into episode number 358, Imperfect Thriving with Kathryn Ely. Kathryn Ely, welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. I'm so excited that you're here. We've gotten to know each other over the last few months. We've traded podcast interviews. We've interacted a whole lot, and I love your story. I love the way that you communicate and teach and coach people. And I think that my audience is going to really love this episode. So no pressure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam. You know, I know what a special community you've got going here and how much you really love and protect your community. So I'm absolutely honored just to have a few minutes with them. And, you know, I love working with you. So anytime.
Awesome. Well, you've got a really interesting story, and I want to start there. Like, you got to tell me the story of how you went from being a lawyer to becoming a therapist. Like, how did that transition happen? Like, that's not, I feel like that's not a typical thing that most people do, right?
No, it was a very long and drawn out kind of thing. You know, I decided in 6th grade that I was going to be a lawyer. I was very rigid.
That's a very lawyer mindset, I feel like,
Yes.
a 6th grader would have.
Yes, very rigid. Like, this is what I'm going to be. Now, I couldn't tell you back then why I wanted to be that, but I just put my head down and that's what I did. Graduated from law school at 25, got married, started a family, had 3 children. Loved all of it, and had an amazing life, but wasn't enjoying it the way I felt like I should. Like, on paper, you know, everything was perfect and fantastic, but I realized I just really did not enjoy my job. It was not what lit me up, what got me excited to get out of bed in the morning. And my husband really helped me. You know, he was like, you're good at this, you're good at that. You really ought to think about going back to school to become a counselor. And I thought about it for a while and I thought, yeah, you know, I think you're right. And it scared me to death to go back to school at age 46, right? With technology and everyone else knowing so much more about it than I did. But it was just the greatest thing for me. And I can't tell you how much I love what I do now.
That's so interesting. Now, I don't know if this is the right term or not, but I think there's something it's called sunk cost bias, where it's the thing like we've invested time and money and effort. And we feel like we just have to keep going in that direction because we have invested that much. And so how did you get around that when you're like, okay, I know I've spent the first part of my life just laser focused on developing this in this one direction, and now I'm going to pivot. How did you mentally get over that hump?
Yeah, so that is such a real thing, that sunk cost. But for me, it was really getting down to the core of who I am, letting go of some of that rigidity and not thinking about how long I had invested in it, but what I wanted the rest of my life to look like. And I
Nice.
knew it wasn't the same as what it looked like before.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
more about, I don't care how much time I have left. I want to spend it in a different way.
Yeah. And having the courage to realize that you are worth all this effort, right? Like you and your happiness, that's worth, like you had to know, like, okay, I got to go back to school. It's going to take some time. My life's going to be kind of put on a hovering pattern for a little bit.
Yeah.
And for somebody that's as driven as you, like you're in sixth grade, like I'm a lawyer. This is what I'm going to do. Like if you're that driven at sixth grade, you've got to feel that trajectory all of a sudden, just pause and go, all right, we're going to hover here a little bit. That had to be hard. You coach a lot around perfectionism. So at that point, I mean, do you feel like you had to let go of some of that? Like was that a big sticking point in this decision process?
Oh, yeah. I knew that I wasn't enjoying the life that I had the way I wanted to, but I wasn't exactly sure when I went back to school to get my master's in clinical mental health. I didn't know when I started exactly what was going on with me. It was through the work in that program, because as you're becoming a counselor, the main thing that you're doing is working through your own stuff so that you don't take it in with you, or that you at least know what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How can you help other people if you don't know what your stuff is? And we all have it. It doesn't matter how put together we look or how great we are at what we do. We're all human. So it was through working through all of that I realized, oh my gosh, all this rigidity and this following of the rules and the shoulds and the expectations that I've been trying to live up to, that's anxiety. Like I always called myself, back in the day, it was type A personality,
Yeah.
right? Detail oriented, high goal, high achiever. It was really anxiety. And it was through digging into that anxiety that I realized that perfection was at the very core of it. So that took a while to get to. But yeah, when I realized that is when my life really began to change for the better.
Yeah. And you took ownership over that and gave yourself some grace and some buffer zone to be like, all right, I don't have to be perfect in all areas and achieve all these perceived things that I think I should be achieving or society thinks you should be achieving. And a big part of that, like you are still like, you're an entrepreneurial working mom. And so, for example, this is on top of my mind, and I'm glad we're having this conversation now. I'm working with a client currently that really is same position, just full throttle working mom, a ton of hours, has her daughter getting ready to go off to college. So much guilt around like wanting to make sure these next few weeks are special and being the perfect parent, being there, being present, being the perfect mom, being the perfect entrepreneur and working and being perfect there. And also being perfect with nutrition, being perfect with exercise and fitness. Like, and then she gets frustrated, doesn't sleep well because she's too busy being perfect or trying to be perfect, and then makes bad decisions across the board on all of it because she's so damn tired and hungry, and the crash and burn happens. So like, can we speak to the moms that are in those situations? Or, it impacts, dads, of course, too. But I feel like,
Yeah.
especially with that parenting side, that the mom guilt, like, I feel like that's a real thing there. So let's dive into that little nook a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Where do we even start? That is so real. And when we hold ourselves to those expectations, and about 30% of us are perfectionists. And
Hmm.
what's even more interesting to me is that 80% of gifted people, very smart people, are perfectionists.
Wow.
So, especially when you get a mom who works, all moms really want to be perfect in the way that they raise their children. But when you've got a mom who also has a job, they tend to want to be perfect in both arenas all the time. So you hold yourself to not just lofty standards, but unrealistic standards. What happens when you don't reach those standards? You beat yourself up, right? Because you see yourself as a failure.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
pass fail.
reach.
It's
Yeah.
not a grade scale. It's pass fail.
No. Yeah. So I failed, right? I held myself to a standard that there was no way I could ever reach. So then when I don't reach it, I pound myself and beat myself up and berate myself for not reaching it. And then what sort of feelings does that bring about? Sad, upset, angry, disappointed, all of those feelings. And then it all comes down to, how do you cope with it? And I'm hearing that client is coping with it by trying to make herself feel better by going back to probably old patterns, right?
Yep.
Eating things that make her feel more comfortable.
Yep.
So it is such a real thing. I have so many clients come into my office, and I specialize in anxiety. I know anxiety. And I do a lot with depression as well. Half the people that have depression also have anxiety. They come into my office and they say things like, I'm stuck. I'm not enjoying my life, right? I'm not sleeping well. I'm not eating right. I'm getting so nervous that I can't get in the car and go to work. They don't ever say, I'm a perfectionist. But more times than not, once I start delving into it, that is the root of the issue.
Yeah. What do you think is the defining line between being goal driven and being a perfectionist? Like, I don't know, like I feel like this is an interesting thing to think about, because I'm very goal driven, and I'm big into like the Four Tendencies, Gretchen Rubin. Like I fangirl out on Gretchen Rubin all the time. But I'm that type of personality that if there's a checklist in front of me, everything will get done. Like, or I'll try very hard. But at the same sense, at the end of the day, I'm pretty good at going, what are my top 3 wins of the day? If I got 3 things going in the right direction, I'm happy with that. I'm satisfied with that. I love to be ahead of pace, but if I'm on pace or close to being on pace, I feel good about that too. So, like, how would you draw that line from perfectionist to motivated, goal driven?
Yeah, I think you did a really good job of defining it. Really, I think it's all about how you treat yourself. It's all about whether or not there's that critical self-evaluation component. So and sort of, what are the goals? Are the goals, I don't even want to say realistic, because that can get tricky. I mean, are they humanly obtainable? Right? With perfectionists, it's not about realistic. It's about expecting it in such a way that is not even humanly possible. So at first, the goal has to be humanly possible. And I don't mean that it has to be realistic and that everybody has to be able to achieve it. It can be lofty, but it has to be attainable. So that, to me, is the first part of it. The second part of it is, how do you treat yourself? Whether you reach the goal or not, how do you treat yourself at the end of the day? Do you applaud yourself, support yourself, and show self-acceptance for the fact that you are an imperfect human being? Or do you berate yourself for not being a perfect human being?
Yeah.
So I think it's really those two things. Is it attainable? And how do you treat yourself?
I'm kind of envisioning like someone running a race, and the perfectionist is that person that runs a race at full throttle, is totally wore out at the end, but doesn't celebrate that they completed the race. They just go and sprint the next race right afterwards, and they're not happy that they haven't got that one done yet either. It's kind of the I'm not there yet syndrome that I talk about a lot on this show. And if you aren't able to sit and be proud of yourself, like, what's the whole point? Like, you don't sit to enjoy. You're just stuck in this, well, I did this, I lost 40 pounds, but I'm not at 50 yet. Or I lost 50, but I'm not at 100 yet. Like, celebrate being 50 pounds down, damn it. Like, that's a huge thing.
Absolutely. I would say one thing that's made the biggest difference in my life is to not be result driven, but to be process focused.
Yes.
Right? So if you're living in the results, you might be enjoying your life and your time on this earth for 2 to 5% of your time, because everything else is forward thinking. Everything else is taking you out of the present, out of enjoying your life in the moment toward reaching this specific goal. Okay? And then when you reach the goal, what really happens? How long do you enjoy it before you move on to your next goal? So there's very little enjoyment in life that is completely result driven. I don't mean we don't need to have results and set goals, But my goodness, if you're going to do that, celebrate the heck out of them when you
Yeah.
get there. Sit in the win.
Yeah.
But for me, it's set the goal, set a lofty goal for sure, something that really gets you motivated. But if you need to reverse engineer it, break it down to the process that's going to
Mm-hmm.
take to get you the goal, and just work the process at every single day. And at the end of the day, celebrate yourself for the process.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That way you're enjoying your life 90% of the time.
yep. Yep.
That's a
And
life well lived.
And it's easier to be accountable to the process than is the goal. Like if your goal is to lose 100 pounds, well, I'm not there yet. Like that's all it is. It's a bunch of I'm not there yet until you actually are, and then you set the next goal that is way out there. And if you've got a process goal or what I refer to as a habit based goal, you can be accountable to that. So maybe it is drink 80 ounces of water every day. Yeah, I can be accountable to that. That's something that leads towards the 100 pounds, or walk 10,000 steps every day. That leads us towards the 100 pounds. Be accountable to that, the habit goals, the process goals, like Kathryn mentioned. And that's where we apply a little gentle personal, pressure and personal acceptance there. Like we can check those off on a daily basis and feel that momentum. And like you said, that achievement goal is the finish line. And that's when we party. We're like, yes, I did that. That's the big celebration. You can use this podcast as an example. Million Pound Mission. We're tracking it. We're getting ready to cross 60,000 pounds donated by our listeners. And I'm not sitting here going, not at a million yet. Not at a million. Like it may take us 10 damn years to get to a million pounds, but we're going to get there. But I'm very like my habit goal is put out an episode every week. Every week I put out an episode. And, that's the checkbox that I check off. I'm very happy about that. Approaching 400 episodes and
Amazing.
60,000 pounds. That's the thing to celebrate, right?
That absolutely is something to celebrate. And if we can find the other, I think, crucial component is finding that flexibility and grace for ourselves, even when we don't have that day where we live our process, because that's going to happen too, right?
Yeah,
Part
true.
of being imperfect human beings is we're going to have those days where we don't even live our best process. So that is a crucial turning point for how it's going to go moving forward, and whether or not you're going to stay on that trajectory is, do you beat yourself up for that? Or do you say, okay, what can I take away from today? What data can I take away from this experiment, and how can I apply it? And how can I treat myself to lift myself up so that I can get back to it tomorrow?
Yes. Yes. Now, one of the things that I really enjoy about how you teach and how you coach, I've had the opportunity to dig into a lot of your information. One of my favorite things, my audience knows I love processes. I love things that kind of paint a picture. I want to talk about the 8 domains. Like this is
Oh,
something
yeah.
that when I heard you talking about this, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. My people need to understand this so much. So could you explain what the 8 domains are and why they're important to our journey to be able to thrive in life in general?
Yeah, absolutely. I love a good framework and a system. Like,
Me
I don't
too.
have a great memory for details. And I think that's why I tend to go for like formulas, frameworks, and the 8 domains is something that I created. To each domain is a major aspect of your life. And there's 8 of them. I won't reel off all 8 of them now. You can go to imperfectthriving.com to see them all, but it's mental and physical well-being, which to me is the only one I would impress upon everyone to put as their most important. Everything else, it's all up to you. It's intimate love relationship, it's parenting and family, it is spirituality and faith. So there is a domain to cover every aspect of your life. And what I do with those domains is that is the framework to determine how to move toward a more fulfilling life. You take your domains, you figure out what you value in each domain. What is important to you? What do you want to be known for in the world in each particular domain? For instance, in parenting, I have 3 kids, 2 of them are almost grown, one of them is 15. And I take my domains and I have a morning mindfulness routine and a weekly mindfulness routine that keeps what is important to me, what I value most in the front of my mind, so that I'm always taking action toward it. When it comes to parenting, it is, I want to be known with my children as a loving, accepting, supportive parent. What does that mean I need to do today? What does that mean I need to do this week to live that value and make sure they know that value? When I do that, it keeps my actions on track to be the person that I want to be and to show up as the person I want to be. So to me, it all starts with the 8 domains and trickles down from there.
Well, the thing I love about the 8 domains is, like you said, it's a framework, and it's not Kathryn saying, here's what you should achieve in each of these. It's you guiding us to figure out what the best allotment, for the goals for within each one. Like I look at it kind of like a pie chart, and there's only so much pie, and you can shift around the importance of each domain and what each section of the domain, like how much time you need to spend on that, what you want to achieve, what is fulfilling for you. And I really like that a lot. And I think some people, especially the perfectionists, will actually struggle with that. They'll be like, but Kathryn, just tell me what perfect is in this domain. Define it for me. But you're challenging people to come from within and be like, if this isn't that important to you, then it's the small slice of the pie chart. And if family is giant, then make that the biggest piece of the pie chart. And that's where you should be spending your time and your focus and energy accordingly.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a while to peel back the layers to get to what someone, especially women who have lived a lot of their lives putting other people first and taking care of other people. Sometimes it takes a while to peel back the layers to get to what is actually most important to them. You have to get past the shoulds that they learn from their family or from their boss or their coach or their church to really get down to what is it that I want. Because until you get to that, until you start living a mindful and intentional life toward that, you are not going to be as satisfied and fulfilled as you could be.
Yeah. I mean, you could be crushing it in life, from people on the outside looking in, and be like, wow, that person's so successful, and be totally unfulfilled, totally unhappy. We see this happen all the time with people that are, quote unquote, rich and famous, but they are just like so unhappy. I've told this story, I think, once before in this show, but I think it was a couple of 100 episodes ago. So I think we're good to retell this one. That's the advantage of having lots of podcast episodes. But I was in a mastermind session, and it was kind of weird to me because we were setting like financial goals as all podcasters, and they went around like the horseshoe, and everybody's like saying their financial goal for the year. I'm like, this feels kind of awkward to me. I'm not super financially driven. I'm more lifestyle driven. So everybody's like, one-upping each other. It's like, oh, mine's 100,000 this year. Another one's like, I'm 500,000. Oh, I'm $1 million. I'm 5 million. I'm like the last person, which is perfect. I stand up and I go, I want to make $5,000 to $6,000 a month, residual income, doing what I love to do. I want to be able to take my kids to school, cook them breakfast. I want to have time to do physical fitness with them. I want to pick them up every day from school and play the rest of the day, have an amazing dinner, and spend family time together. That's my goal this year. And if that's $60,000, great. If that's whatever, that's like, it's more lifestyle driven, because that's what fulfills me. And maybe some of these people, that the money fuels the lifestyle that they want, but it's not always about like that big dollar sign or that big fame target that we're putting out there, right?
No, because if you want to really enjoy the results that you get, if you really want to enjoy reaching your goals need to be in line with what you value. And that's what I'm hearing is exactly what you did. You took what was most important to you, how you wanted to spend your time, what you want to be known for in your family and with your kids, and what you enjoy. And then you created the goals in line with that. And what the magic in that is what happens when you reach those goals. There is so much more fulfillment and enjoyment along the way and in the process, but there's so much more enjoyment when you reach those goals.
Yep.
Because they line up with what's important to you.
Yeah.
And it's magic.
I tell you what, after I stood up and did that, we took a break. I had half the room come up and tell me, I want more goals like you. Like that seems a lot better than that number that I just threw out there. And so like,
Yeah.
I feel like we could have signed up a lot of clients for you at that point. Like I should have had you right there. Like, well, talk to my friend Kathryn. She can help you with this perfectionism mindset that you've got. Talk about progress over perfection. And along those lines, like that's a phrase that's out there. Progress, not perfection. Progress over perfection. Like, what does that mean to you, Kathryn?
Yeah, so that means sort of putting together everything that we've talked about today. Looking at your progress over perfection is living a life of intention toward what you value, and celebrating the progress that you make toward that every day, versus setting the unrealistic goal that you could never attain, beating yourself up about it, feeling like a failure, and starting over in that same sort of loop every single day.
Yep. Sounds familiar, doesn't it, podcast listeners? Yeah, like you can be in a positive loop or a negative loop. The vortex is going to be the vortex that you created personally. Man, I love that. I love it. So I've got kind of I love to ask kind of off the wall questions, but I feel like this is in line with what we're talking about. Like with progress, the progress over perfection, the perfectionist mindset, the 8 domains. Out of all the people that you work with or the people that you interact with that are in your community, if you could wave a magic wand and help that average person make one mental shift, what would it be? Like you could just be like, this is the thing that so many people are just really in their head about or frustrated with. You wave a magic wand, it goes away. What's that one mindset shift you'd want out of that?
Oh, that is easy. Self-acceptance. To realize that every human being is flawed, every human being is imperfect, and therefore, since you are a human being, you are flawed and imperfect, but you're so wonderfully unique. The imperfections that you have are what make you this unique bundle of a human being that will never be repeated again. So if you can find that self-acceptance and shift your mindset to seeing that your unique imperfections are a gift rather than a hindrance, and then shift your focus to what are all the things that I have to offer the world because of the unique package that I am. If I could give that gift to every single person, that's what I would do.
Gosh, that sounds awesome. And I talk about this a lot on the show with just the example of the weight loss journey. So many people expect like, oh, I found Adam and I start a program and now everything will be fixed forever. And when life throws them a curveball and they gain a little bit of weight back because the coronavirus pandemic happens, or whatever, that's just a minor example. And they slip a little bit, they beat themselves up like, what? I thought I had a solution and it's supposed to go perfect forever. But I talk about the journey. There's a lot of wines in the road, but it's kind of like the stock market. We follow the trends and we're going to look back 10 months from now or 10 years from now and go, okay, the trend went in the right direction. And that's the whole, to me, that's the best example I can put out there as the whole progress over perfection mindset.
It is. It's sort of like, do they even have like seesaws or teeter totters in,
Oh yeah. Well,
okay.
I think so. I mean, now that you mention
Well,
it, I don't remember seeing them, but I think they're
well,
still a thing.
I'm showing my age here, but like that's what we used to play on those at the playground. And I remember trying to stand on one by myself and trying to balance the two sides, And I think if we can find that sweet spot, that balance between setting lofty goals and always wanting to progress and be a better version of ourselves while accepting who we are along the way, that is the sweet spot. That's just where the magic happens, I think, if you can
Yep.
find that balance.
Yeah. It's all about the balance. Now, this isn't something that I normally don't do when I interview somebody, but I believe in what you're doing so much. And I talk to my audience members almost on a daily basis through email, the live stuff we do. There's a lot of interaction. I see people struggling with this perfectionism, not having their mind dialed in correctly with this, a lot of self-imposed mental pressure. I want to talk about your free mini course, and what I really, really, really want to highly encourage that you guys plug into this. It's the Progress Over Perfection workshop, and it's free and it's really good. I've been through it. It is excellent. Kathryn, just it's really, really good. And if you struggle with anything, if you had light bulbs going off at any time, going, "Ooh, like this is a hot button topic for me," do this. So, Kathryn, how do people get plugged into the free workshop?
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam. It's a workshop that I created to sort of fast track everybody through what I had to learn the hard way. And it's just these 5 bite-sized podcast episodes, or you can go on the website and get the videos. So you can go to imperfectthriving.com and just sign up for it. You'll find the button for the free course and sign up for it. And it's 5 little episodes of sort of, the first one takes you through a quiz and are you a perfectionist? Because the thing is, it's a really sneaky thing and a lot of people don't know that they are. So the quiz is there to help you with that. The second episode is kind of really delving into what it is costing you, how it is affecting your life. Then the next 3 episodes are the 3 steps that you can take to pull away from perfection. So all you have to do is go to imperfectthriving.com, find the button that says, I want this free course, and sign up for it. And it'll be there for you today. And I'd love for y'all to go check it out. And even more so, get in touch with me, email me and message me, and just give me your thoughts about it. I would love to hear from you and about what your experience with the course is.
And one of my favorite things about the course, and just like your podcast, the way you interact, I mean, you guys can probably tell just from listening to Kathryn speak here today. It's every time I talk to you, it's like I'm talking to an old friend, like a very good, like you speak in terms where it makes me feel at ease. And I've interviewed a decent amount of people that are in counseling, therapy, and things like that. And a lot of times they make me feel kind of on edge and nervous. I'm like, oh, I'm being analyzed. They're reading my mind currently. So that's one of the things I really like about this course. I think it's important because if somebody's perfectionist, they're going to be on edge about judgment and things like that. And the way you teach, it's very like best friend stance. Like you're there to help, you're there to nurture, you're there to communicate, and it's very easy to consume. So that's probably not, I'm having a hard time being very specific in describing this, but that's the ease of consumption of your material. It just feels good and I can consume it and I go, okay, that helped. And I think a lot of people can benefit from that. So it gives my 100% stamp of approval. I really want you guys to check it out, imperfectthriving.com. Get in the course, do the freebie. It is 100% worth your time. And I'm going to be having Kathryn inside the Facebook community. We're going to do an Instagram live. I'm really going to promote her stuff because I feel like I love finding people that fill a need for my audience and my community. And Kathryn, I feel like you really do that.
Well, thank you so much. I know how special your community is, so hearing that just kind of makes me blush. It's just, I've been through it all myself. I've been there, so there's absolutely no judgment involved. And I know it's hard to get to the other side, and I just want to do whatever I can to help people over to the other side because it's nice here. It's nice.
You've climbed over the wall, and now you're reaching back over and pulling somebody else over, and those are the best. Yes,
that's the dream.
Yes. Well, Kathryn, obviously people can connect to your podcast, Imperfect Thriving, imperfectthriving.com. That gets the course. I'll have all this all the connection points in the show notes and in the blog. I like to leave our audience with a little bit of momentum. I like to send them off with a little bit of energy. So let's say that you could sit down with one of our listeners that's out there that's been struggling with perfectionism. You could sit them down, you can just look them in the eye, and you can give them a little bit of positivity. What would be one tip you give somebody they could take immediate action on and see some benefit from?
I would say really start noticing how you talk to yourself in your own head. The words that we say to ourselves are the most important words we say. And sometimes, especially with perfectionists and those with anxiety and depression, we don't realize they've become automatic thoughts almost. You don't even realize how much you say to yourself, that's stupid, or I shouldn't feel this way. But it happens so much. So I would say if there's one thing you could start doing today that will help you is to start noticing and paying attention to how you talk to yourself, because really that's where it all begins.
Outstanding advice, my friend. Kathryn Ely, ladies and gentlemen, imperfectthriving.com. Make sure you check her out. Kathryn, thank you so much for investing some time here. And I can't wait to dive a little bit deeper and introduce you inside my Facebook community, my Instagram community, and get you kind of weaved in there in the whole Mission Possible community. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, I thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to getting to know your community even better. Thanks so much, Adam.
All right, everybody. Now it's time to set those implementation alarms. What is the one thing you're going to take action on in the next 24 hours to start thriving imperfectly and get over your perfectionist mindset? And let's hone in on that. Set that alarm, take action in the next 24 hours, then get out there and own it every meal, every workout, every day. I will see you on the next episode. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. I hope you got a ton out of it. If you feel like you need a little bit of a boost, a little bit of an accountability buddy, a little bit of coaching, I've got my 28-day coaching program open and ready to help. You can go to millionpoundmission.com and apply. I take a few people each week. I like to stagger them out as we onboard new people so you get maximum attention. We're touching base every week with video chats. We've got a daily Google Doc that I call the Client Hub that we check in with on a daily basis. We really dig in with your macros, your calories, your fitness. I supply all the resources you need in all those areas, and it's supportive accountability to help you burst through that plateau, to reverse your momentum from negative to positive, and really get after those goals that you've been shooting for so long. It's time to go from goal setting to goal achieving, and the 28-day coaching program is the way to get it done. Head on over to millionpoundmission.com and submit your application today.